Hey guys, so for this week's assignment, we are going to go ahead and make a sign for the plasma cutter. So we're going to start out by coming down to the Start menu down here at the bottom. You can go to AutoCAD 2024 English and just grab this and drag it out onto the desktop. We're going to be using it quite a bit. I've already got mine out here. Once you get it out there, go ahead and double click on it to open it up. It takes a little bit to load. I think when the first time it opens, you're going to have to click I agree. There's a pop-up message. You have to click I agree on it and then OK on it again. Once this pops up, we're going to click on New right here to start a new drawing. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through on kind of how this works, the interface. If you roll your scroll wheel in and out, it's going to zoom. If you click on the scroll wheel and hold, it'll let you pan. And those two we'll be using quite a bit. The view cube up here, make sure this is on top and it's like squared up on top here. All your drawing tools are at the top here. Your modify tools are right next to it. We aren't going to be using the annotation tools much, but if you need dimensions or whatnot to figure out how big things are, they're right here. So I'm going to give you guys a piece of steel that is 6 inches by 18 inches. You don't necessarily have to use all of that. Usually what I'm doing as I'm drawing, I have a tape measure in front of me, and that's a real rough number. If you wanted to do something that wasn't that same shape, let me pull over some designs I have. So say you wanted to do something kind of like this, we would just make this, we could make it like 12 by 12. The 6 by 18 is kind of, like I said, a real rough size. Usually I start out, kind of depending on what I'm going to do, I'll start out with a box that's roughly that size. So I'm going to say I'm going to make a like welcome to the Branham sign, just to show you guys kind of how to do some text. So I'm just going to click once. I'm going to drag my mouse straight down, and I'm going to say I want this to be 6 by 18. So I'm going to type in 6, push enter, and that'll make that line 6 inches long. Then I'm going to drag it this way. I'm going to type in 18, enter, 6, enter, and then I can just close the box off. And like I said, it doesn't have to be 6 by 18. If you're doing something different, a different shape or whatnot, have me double check your picture before you trace it, because it might not trace very well. So we'll start out by drawing a box. Like I said, we'll put welcome to the Branhams on here. So I just clicked on the multi-line text up there. Welcome to the Branhams. Then if you highlight it, you can adjust the size of it up here, and you have to highlight it first before you adjust it. So let's make that an inch tall, 2 inches. Yeah, 2 inches is going to be a little bit tall. Let's go 1.75. I'll make it centered. might make that a little bit smaller. Just so there's a little bit of space on the edges. Let's go 1.7 and see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks good. And we can adjust all this later on as we're working on this too. And I might scoot the Branhams over and do like a moose head or something, maybe a tree right in here. So the next step of this is we're going to use the command txtexp. So if you just come down to the command bar here, type in txtexp, and then push enter. That's going to explode your text. So highlight your text and push enter. And it should change it to lines like that. Once you get to this point, you'll see that it's all kind of joined together still, and it has some weird lines on the inside of it. So we're going to use the explode command. Enter. And then we're going to highlight all of our text. And to get a green box, I just did a single click and drag my mouse up. If you drag your mouse down, it'll give you a blue box. So start from that lower right corner, drag it up, click again, and then I'm just going to push enter. And now what you'll see is as you go through here, you can delete these lines out. As you're doing this, you have to be kind of careful, because if you drag your box over like that, you're going to delete sections of lines out. So be real intentional on what you're deleting. So I'm just going to delete a couple of these out of here. Obviously, you'll have to delete the rest of them, but I don't want to have you guys watching me delete all those. Once you get those all deleted out, the next step is anything that has an island on the middle of it. So what I mean by that is, like on the E, we have a piece of metal right here. On the O, we have a center island to it. The A, we have a center island. Any of those, the B, we have to put some bridges on those. And for an E, a typical bridge that I usually put would be like, I'm going to use the arc tool because I want it to kind of like blend with the same arc that they have going here on the E. So I'm just going to go from there, there, there. And if I don't like that curve to it, I can just click on it, click on the middle here, and adjust it to what I like. I might just use a little. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. Then we're going to use the offset command. Enter. And it's going to say specify the offset distance kind of by your cursor there. Let's start with 0.1. Let's see what 0.1 looks like. It might be too much. No, that'll be okay. That's a pretty safe distance that it will definitely hold together with. Then I'm just going to click on my arc, click on the end of the lines, drag those out. Now we can use the trim command. I'm just going to type in TR and then push enter. I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to trim that off. I'm going to trim that off. So now when the plasma cutter comes and cuts around, it's going to cut through here, and it'll leave this island in there, so you'll be able to see that. And then just this part of the E will fall out. And then as you're going through and doing these, you can use the join command, because you'll notice these are all individual lines right now. So if you leave it like that, the plasma cutter is going to start, it's going to cut this line, it's going to shut off. It's going to start, cut this line to the end, shut off. Start, cut this line, shut off. Start, cut this line, shut off. And it takes forever, and it doesn't come out very good. So we're going to use the join command. Highlight that, push enter, and then it should all be one. You should be able to click on it on one spot and the whole thing highlight like that. Whereas this I haven't joined, and I click on it and it's all individual lines still. So we'll join this all together, and I always go back through and double check that they have joined. And then like on an O, I'll show you how to do that. I use a line. So you can either type in L, go to the line command here, or come up and click on the line tool at the top here. And I usually try and shoot for about the center of the circle. And remember, we want our bridge to be about 0.1 wide. So I'm going to use the offset tool. And I'm going to offset it 0.05 to the left and 0.05 to the right. 0.05 to the left, to the right. Delete the center line. Come in, trim that, trim that, trim the top of the lines, and then trim the tops off just like that. Trim these. Oop, there's a little bit right there. And then we can join that all together. That all got joined. That all got joined. And don't worry about the color if it changes like that. That isn't a big deal. Okay, so you can go through, put all the bridges on that you need, explode your text, do all that stuff. Next thing I want to do, and like I said, you don't necessarily have to do this, but this is just my example. I'm going to use the move command. You can either type it in or you can come up here to wherever move is. Move right there. Enter. Highlight what I want to move. Enter. It's going to say specify a base point. I'm just going to click on the bottom of the B. Slide it straight over. Let's have a little bit of room here. And I'm going to say I like this moose. I want to trace it. So what I'm going to do is right click on it. I'm going to copy the image. And then in AutoCAD, I can do a Control V, which will paste it. I'm going to click. And this is where things get a little bit more complicated, but they're not too bad. So I'm going to come up to Layer Properties here. Click on that. And then this little stack of papers with the sun next to it, I'm going to click on that. Let's click on that twice. So the first layer here, let's call this lines. The second layer we'll call picture. The line color, we're going to click on. And I just make it something different that's going to be easy to see on black and white. So red's a good color. It really differentiates. Off of that. And then for the picture, oops, for the transparency on the picture right here, we're going to make that, let's make it like 80. I'll say OK. Now I can highlight the picture, come up here to my layers, switch this over to the picture layer. Now you can see it's transparent. And then I'm going to highlight all my lines. Yeah.
Are you talking to somebody?
Yeah, got a camera. I'm recording. Highlight all my lines. You need a hand though?
Damn no.
Sorry. And then we'll put those on the lines layer right here. And then if it bothers you that these lines aren't all the same color, you can come over here and say by layer. And that will change them all to the same color. Now it's just a matter of making your lines layer current. So when you draw a line, it will be on the lines layer.
Thank you.
And taking a line or an arc. Usually with animals, I don't use a lot of lines because it doesn't look very organic and flow with the animal very well. I use a lot of the 3-point arc tool. It's like on his back here. I would probably go kind of like that. Yeah. You see how it's kind of snapping like that? If you come down here, this is polar. The polar tracking, you can turn that off. That'll give you a little bit better flexibility with what you're doing. Space bar. And the arc tool is kind of weird. It wants a start point, it wants the middle of the arc, and then it wants the end. And if you don't like the way these come together, you can always click on both arcs. You can adjust them together. You can adjust the endpoints. Any of these blue dots you can click on and move. But what I try and do, like anywhere there's a transition, I'll bring a line up and then I'll transition it to like here or whatever looks right. So you're just going to work your way around it, trace the whole thing, and then what you can do is take the picture, and you can click the sun right here. That'll freeze the picture, and you can move your animal or whatever it is that you're drawing over into your layer or into your drawing here. On here, like if you didn't want the square corners, you can come in, you can do a fillet. Click on fillet, and then click on radius down here. And then I'll say, I don't know, maybe like a 1/2 inch radius, 0.5, enter. And then click one line, click the next line. That'll round the corners over so they're not so sharp. Kind of makes it look a little bit more finished. And then I would also put some holes in here for like a nail so you could hang it. Be very careful because the default tool up here, a circle tool, is going to be a center radius. So typically it's going to make your hole twice as big as you think. So I always click on the center diameter for doing nail holes. And we'll pick up like right here. And if we make those 0.1, that'd be a decent nail hole size. Then I'm just going to do a Control-C, Control-V to copy it. Put it over here on the other side. Put it about the same location. If you want it to be exactly the same spot, you can take a line, move a line across. Oop, where did that go? Where are you going? Oh. On this object snap, just turn that off. It's snapping to the endpoint of the line. But make sure when you're tracing to turn that back in or turn that back on, because you want your endpoints of your lines to snap together, or you're going to have to search around and figure out where it's not snapped together. If you are joining these together and say like this part of it joined, but it wasn't joined to the rest of it, typically what I do, actually, let me show you here. It's like I went to go join this together. Well, it's not going to do it, but if it joined like the inside of this and then the outside all joined together, typically I'll take where it ends at, I'll break it apart, and I'll snap it back together, and that will fix the problem. What else am I forgetting here? Saving. When you get all done and you're ready to save, I have some thumb drives. There's a little green block with thumb drives in it behind my computer. You'll need to grab one of those, plug it into your computer, and then you can come up to Save As right here. Click the pull down. You're going to go to USB disk. The file name will be your last name, and then like Moose or last name and whatever it is you're drawing. And then the file type, we want to save this as a 2004 DXF. Keep in mind this does not autosave, so you have to save on your own, or it'll be deleted.